Let's see, Twinkle, will you put up the PowerPoint?
I don't think you're seeing it yet, right?
No.
Let me try it again. There we go.
Yes. Okay, this is virtual training 7 that we're starting on today, and we only have one more training session the end of May, and then we will pick back up in August when school starts back again. So today I'll be presenting Twinkle and Melynda for the virtual training 7. And on the agenda for today, we'll be looking at reviewing what we did on virtual training 6. Twinkle's going to go over that. And then each of us will be talking about using the guidebooks. And we want to go through the guidebooks because we really, all three of us talked, and we really feel like there needs to be more information for you all as far as how the guidebooks are set up, exactly how to use those activities. So we want to go step by step today in looking at the guidebooks, how it's set up as far as the introduction, looking at that teacher worksheet, and looking at how you fill that teacher worksheet out, how you're looking at the discovery outcome with the extended standard. So we want to really hone in on that today to make sure we're real clear about what needs to be done, and that there's not any type of confusion that we may not, on our part, that we may have. Excuse me, my dog and cat have decided to jump up in the middle of everything. And so we'll look at how to connect those standards, and then we will wrap up with what needs to be completed before we start the next session. So.
Okay, so I am going to review virtual training 6. And if y'all remember, and if you weren't here, again, we're always going to encourage you to please watch those recordings. But so we basically, our focus was bringing our student into middle school from elementary. So in elementary, our focus was the life book, and then transitioning into a student career portfolio. And then we had a really good article that we shared with y'all from WinTech. And, you know, if you haven't had a chance or you need some summer reading, I think read through it. For me, it really outlines customized employment and kind of where we're going to go with it, and the elements of it. And I think it's real important. It's a good tool, I think, if you need to share it with someone to help them understand, or, you know, read them, you know, the Cliff Notes at the Reader Digest condensed version of it. But to give you a basis, a really good understanding of customized employment overall. And then, of course, we talked about different types of career exposures, you know, that you would probably start on your campus, or non-paid opportunities, or look and see what's in your community, or finding out what the student can do if their family's involved with any organizations outside of school. I always think of middle school as when they start going to football games. They might go to football games on their own, or with friends where a parent drops them off. And so they're starting with that independence part. And then also we looked at some brief information about the student career portfolio. We didn't go into it in depth, and we've decided in reviewing some of the trainings that we've had and looking at some of the assessment assignments that we needed to spend a little more time on the documents themselves, and also to start off the school year with the student career portfolio, because that will be basically the gist of our training for next year, along with some job development pieces that we hopefully will get into. And then I need to, check in, and I've been trying to check the folders for assignments and team information. So I'm going to check in with y'all. So if you can say, oh no, I uploaded it, but it's in that folder. I tried to look at all the different folders, but just in case, we'll just at the end.
So hopefully you guys have had a chance to look and work with the elementary and the middle school guidebooks. Of course, we also have the high school guidebook. So I was not on the team last year that wrote the guidebooks, and I misunderstood, and I thought that all of you guys were all on that team. And so I thought that I was the only one who had not spent a lot of time with them previously. So that seems not to be the case. So we're clearing it up this week. So here is the link again, just in case, whatever PowerPoint whatever recording you're watching, you can always go back and click the link and get the elementary book, the middle school, or the high school.
Oh, Melynda, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. So for today's training, I went ahead and screenshot some of the pages we'll be referring to, so you don't have to go in and look at the actual guidebook and flip pages. So if you haven't had a chance, in the folder for today's training are handouts 1, handouts 2, and handouts 3. And so I just went ahead and grabbed the pages that we're referring to, so you'll have them all in one place. Thank you.
Thanks. So no matter which guide you're looking at, they did try and set them up with a uniform format, just so that you know what to expect every time. So when you first open your guidebook, each one is going to begin with that introduction section. So there's going to be a biography about the authors. Twinkle's in there, Charlotte's in there, Lenny and Rhonda. And then there is a note before we begin. And basically, it's just a reminder of why are we doing this? What is this for? So, we are trying to move from just, doing school and fulfilling those objectives to really getting to know our students even more, answering those discovery questions. So by the time they leave us, and they've been with us for a long time, we have captured all this really rich information. And it also, has some nuances in there. It talks about if you want to, do it digitally or do it hard copy. So that note just kind of gives an overview of why and how we are using the guidebooks. And then there's a section that says the infusion of discovery into the classroom framework structure. And basically it explains the Wyoming standards and the extended frameworks and how they took those standards and put them into the discovery to fulfill discovery questions into these guidebooks. It also talks about accommodations and modifications. These books are for you and your students, but remember, ultimately it is for the families as well. And so it's not totally out of the realm to think that at some point, if somebody's going to come across this on the internet. And so we did go ahead and explain again, what accommodations and modifications are. And then also, just to almost give you a green light, like it is okay to use and fully expected to use accommodations and modifications when getting that discovery information. You are going to create the life book or the career portfolio based on the student and, who they truly are. And when they need support, they need support. And so, that is perfectly okay. So also, after you get through that front material, every guidebook has a table of contents, and it tells you, what transition phase you're in. Is it, career awareness for elementary? Are we building more on those activities? And then English goes first, and then math, and then science. So once you get through the table of contents, and you get to your section, your core, your English, math, or science section, there is a table there. There's a grid, and the grid is going to have the performance standard. That is your content performance standard. It's going to have the extended standard. And then there's a column that says discovery. This is the discovery questions of what we're hoping you can glean from whatever activities you're doing. And then the last column is the activity column, and it lists, what activities the authors of these guidebooks think like, hey, we can really work smarter, not harder, and we can get some information from these activities to answer the discovery questions. Once you go through the grid, then the actual worksheets and activities start. And so again, for every activity, there is the content standard, there's the extended standards, the objectives. If you do the activities in the guidebooks, there are materials listed. And then there's sample, teaching activities. And then how are you going to assess the student? How are you going to get that discovery information? And then also we relisted that discovery objective. And then just in another format, even though we already said, hey, this is the information we're looking for discovery, there's going to be, a narrative answer or a way for you to present it. So for example, in the elementary, the very first objective for the English language arts standard is going to say the student will identify where you live, describe your home or bedroom, and tell where in the town your home is located. So then we just restate that a different way at the bottom. So in the life book or the career portfolio, when the student is the all about me, you're going to say, where do you live? Whether it's digital or hard copy, where do you live? Where in your town is your home? Describe your home or bedroom. So the same objectives, we're just making them a little more colloquial, a little, more fluid for when you put them actually in the document. If the lesson has resources, like if there's a specific worksheet or a symbolic language card, something like that. Not every lesson has resources, but if there are resources associated with it, then it will be after that worksheet and activities. So when you're in each guidebook, again, look at the table of contents. You're going to go through your core content, your English, your math, and your science. At the end, there is a back, and it doesn't say appendix. I think it says resources, but it's basically an appendix that has resources in it. So first of all, there are terms and definitions. This is new. If you are not in the customized employment world or the adult services world, some of these, the terminology that we may use sometimes is just out of left field. Okay. It's not your everyday, middle school terminology. So there are terms and definitions. There's also in every one, that same transition activities chart that just lets you know, this is where we are, are we in elementary? Are we in middle? Are we in high? This is where we're going. This is where we've been. And just has the focus for the stage, the first stage, the second, or the third planned out for you. So are you in career awareness, career planning, or career development? And for each stage, there are some standard activities that we have, and where you put your energy, basically. Then we also so sometimes for me, we're answering discovery questions, we're doing these activities, and then you end up at the end and it's like, wow, I have all this information and I'm not sure where to put it and I don't know where to document it, and it gets very overwhelming. So what they included was this integration of discovery into the curriculum worksheet. And that really is just a place for you to document that activity, that assignment, just for you to jot down, because you're not going to be staying late at school every day scrapbooking for this career portfolio. We know that. So this is just a standard format so that you can write down information while it's fresh. You can, give the, spell out what the student did. And then you know, were there modifications, were there supports needed, anything like that? And then there's a spot for you to reflect. So by the time you are able to put this all into the portfolio or the life book, you know, sometimes, I mean, in a perfect world, we do it the same week, but we know that that often doesn't happen. And sometimes it shouldn't. So this is just a way for you to document and have it ready when you're able to put it into that portfolio. And then there is also the student career portfolio. Okay, so there's the sample of the teacher worksheet. The student career portfolio, Twinkle, I meant to ask you before we started, is this, I don't see that attached to mine. Is there a portfolio attached to each guidebook normally, or is that just a typo?
No, there's one in the back of them, in the
Okay.
resource section.
Okay, all right. Mine did not, I missed that part.
Think, I'll double check, but I thought there was one in each one.
Okay.
Maybe not in elementary, maybe not in elementary.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. So where we want to go, like I said, we're going to break it down on using this guidebook, because this is where the whole design behind it when we got there. So we're going to start with the first one, and we're going to literally go step by step. So, you know, take notes or take a picture, or, you know, you can go into the Google folder and pull it out if you want. I just did some little short screenshots so you'll know what we're doing, so I wouldn't have to flip through the book as we were talking. So like Melynda mentioned at the beginning, that each book is set up in English and ELA, math, and science. And then we just called this for grid. I mean, it could be a crosswalk too of some sort, but for each section at the beginning of the ELA, so you can see here at the top, you know, there's what phase, this is middle school, by the way. So it's the career planning phase. This is English language arts, and the grade is middle school 7 to 8. And then we have through 4 columns. So this is the regular performance standard for Wyoming. And then in the second column has the extended content standard for Wyoming, and not everyone is represented there. We picked and chose some and all, but then what we also did was for you're hearing the discovery questions. So linking or connecting this discovery question that would fit that particular activity. And then we numbered the activities from 1 to 3. And if you remember, I believe, Jennifer, y'all were going to set up another folder. So if you came across an activity that worked way better than what was designed, because, you know, as it is, I mean, it was always, we've talked about this ourselves, you know, whenever I got a lesson plan book or I had to go substitute in a classroom for a teacher, you know, we all do things a little differently. But if you find something that really works in that one, or because you're a very rural community, you know, then I think there's going to be a folder where people can add, I found this one activity and it really worked well with my student or students. So that's kind of how the grid is. So if you're working on, you know, English, reading literature, which is 7.1, you know, then here are the discovery questions that we thought connect well with it. And here are the activities we thought could go along with it. So if you're doing it in the classroom, that activity, we felt like would not only meet the standard or the components of that standard, but also add some information that you would include in the student's portfolio.
Twinkle,
Yes.
there is a Discovery Guide activity ideas folder. I've had it set up since February 5th.
Okay, I thought you had. Okay, so what was the name of it again?
Discovery Guide activity ideas.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
so then when we're looking at it, so this is going to go into what I called, you know, VT7 handout number 1. As I started getting into this, you know, things you learn to do better. Because I was just, you know, all the handouts, I was going 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then I realized that I had 1, 2, 3 for every single training. So the first one, the first handout is comprised of, and we're going to go through it sheet by sheet. So this first one is taken from the teacher worksheet and the activities, page 19. It was actually activity number 19, this is the one that was assigned for a homework assignment. So when we go to it, and it's, again, I just did screenshots. So here's the teacher worksheet and activities. And this particular one in middle school has activities number 19 through 21. But we had just decided on activity 19. So if you look at if you have the full page of the hand, a little easier to read than my little screenshot. But of course, it just says here, it's reading informational text. The standards we are going to cover or connect with is EERI 7.4, 7.5, and 8.1. And all of them, for the most part, the commonality between them all is we're looking at meaning of words or phrases as they're used in informational text, or keywords or headings, or how to look at what's inferred versus what is stated. So when you're working with your students, we have to help them understand how to get information or how they're going to interpret signs and such, or headings that they have. So this one, discovery question that would go with this, or a good one that could go with this, is how do you get around your community in terms of transportation? What are your community functioning skills? Like, how do you travel? How do you go for shopping? How do you ask for assistance? Some of our students, and I'm going to go back to a student that was blind. And for the longest time, he said, I don't know. I mean, I just get in the car and my brother and sister or mother take me. I don't ask where anything's at or that we're turning right or left. And so he got a GPS device that had voice output. So part of his assignment was to start, he would plug in the address, and of course the voice output would tell him to turn, and he would tell his mother or brother or sister the direction. So he would start, because we were getting ready to teach him how to ride the public bus and all. So this is part of the questions of, how do they get around? And for middle school, a lot of them say, I just get in the car and they take me, and so I've never paid attention to signs, or I don't read signs. And then also the objectives, for the teacher, we wanted the students to identify a variety of signs, either by matching or answering orally or using electronic devices, and how they find them in their community. But you can start with their campus and something like this. So then we had some teaching activities. So a general one is we want to introduce ADA symbols for various modes of transportation, along with maps. And when it start, like I said, middle school might just start on the campus. That's the easiest place to start, because you're there and you don't have to put in a request for the bus. But if you can do outing out into the community, that'd be even better. And then looking at the vocabulary, starting with that vocabulary that they can understand the difference between a fixed route and a paratransit route. That if you use Uber or Lyft or rideshare or carpool, when I was growing up, it was a carpool mostly. It was families that we would, different parents would gather us all together and take us places and stuff. But then we utilized taxis too, where I was from. And so for activity 19 of this one, the activity that was designed was that they'll choose the correct symbol when the description is given either orally or using a speech-to-text program. That they'll also use electronic map programs to look up directions to place in a community. So understand how to use Google Maps or Bing Maps or whatever they might have access to, or it might be I have to look on the computer first to get the directions for something, or if they have a phone, they can use that also. And then we even designed some handouts that you could use for the student, and then the ADA symbols for the scavenger hunt. So once the activity is completed, then you would go to the and this is where something for me, I was like, okay, we need to come up with a shorter word, but so I call it the integration teacher worksheet, but it's the integration of discovery into the curriculum framework. So basic, and again, there's a sample and there's a blank copy found in the resource section of each book. So that should be part of your handouts. It would be the page afterwards of how this was filled out. So let me go over to, let me pull this up. So again, what I did was, we just have a screenshot here, but you have the full page in your handout section. So as you go back in your discovery outcome, what did you want to learn from this lesson, that not only do they meet the requirements of the lesson, but of course they meet the some component of the student career portfolio. So again, we're looking at the transportation, getting around their community. What skills do they have? So if they are blind, are they using a cane at this time? And how do you get directions to a place? So the students can choose the correct symbol when a description is given by orally or using a speech to text program. And then we also add another activity is go on a scavenger hunt, looking for those ADA symbols. They could take a picture or complete a card, almost like a bingo card, maybe. How the students will read a map or use a computer to determine. You can start with the school map. Like ours, our high schools are pretty big. And so getting around, if building A, B, and C and where the gymnasium at, for children that are students that were blind, we used to develop tactile maps for them, either one that we made or one that we embossed from a machine. But those can be used for all students if they need to learn how to use a map. It's kind of easy to start with the campus. And then let them take photos of the symbols they see around their campus, the building they visit or a place in the community. And they'll be assigned a mode of transportation and research and create a presentation to share with their classmates. So again, it might sound a little sophisticated, but we're getting them ready for it. And so, for those of you that are in rural areas, how does everybody get around? Does everybody share a ride with somebody? Does everybody carpool to work? Is there just here in Texas, we do have the South Texas Community Liaison, and they have what they call the rural route transportation. It's a van, but you can qualify for it, but it's kind of difficult to get it on the schedule. And it's not something you would probably get to access every day to go to a job. But at least in middle school, it starts the wheels turning about how is a student going to get to work when they start looking at those job opportunities. Then there's a reflection part in that stage. And so this one, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but we just described exactly what the student did. So we made up a name called Sarah, and that she made sure the directions were not too simple, because Sarah takes offense at being treated like a child when she's in middle school. So she's using a cell phone to take pictures of the symbols. Some of your students have cell phones, some don't. And now the little Polaroid cameras are back, or maybe there's a classroom phone that can be used or something that would take pictures for them. But that's familiar for her. So she took photos of the symbols within a restroom or a cafeteria. The coach was going to the cafeteria to eat with one of the football players. So she stopped and told the player and the coach what a good job they did last week. So Sarah goes back to the classroom. She's ready to discuss the symbols that she located on her campus during class time. Sarah follows the teacher's directions on the scavenger hunt. Sarah did not need any assistance from the teacher in completing this task. So you see the richness of this description. It's telling us a whole lot about her as to what she's capable of doing without assistance. So basically the summary outcome, you're just going to describe how did that task work out, and that she follows verbal directions to complete a task. So she didn't need things written down for her. Sometimes it takes her longer to complete a task if she has others to socialize during a task. So if a group went on a scavenger hunt, she might take a little bit longer than if she went on her own. She has a great memory. She remembers names of other students and teachers. She does not need any assistance in getting around the school campus. Sarah attends her school local football games on Friday night. So there's another one. She goes there, you can ask her. And one of the questions I might ask is, how does she attend the game? Do her parents drop her off? Does she meet with a group of friends? Do her parents go all together and the parents sit in the bleacher, but they allow her to, a lot of us, the younger kids, used to go down close to the railings and watch the cheerleaders and get as close to the game as they could. But those might be some additional information you would, just to give everybody an idea of her social level. So that is, like I said, this is the old-fashioned we do, and then I do, you do, and then we do. So this was the I do. I just strictly took you through it. Everything's all typed out for you. Are there any questions right now about that? Because we're going to do 2 more activities, one in high school, one in elementary. But eventually you're going to be doing some role playing yourselves in your breakout groups and trying to write up a reflection statement. Are there any questions at this time, just based on that? Because we did get some wonderful assignments turned in, but they didn't quite use the format that we were looking for. It gave us some information, but it was kind of the connection from discovery to the standard that we were looking at. So does anybody have any questions right now before we move on? Okay, go to the next one. So now we're going to try let's see, an elementary activity. So if you're if you're like me and print everything out, oh my God, I'm still, but this would be your handout number 2. And again, I'll have a copy of the activity sheet, and I think it has a copy of the template. So career awareness guidebook. So this is, we're going to look at activities 18 through 20. And this is number 2. And if you're following along in the book, it starts on page 9. And let's see, I think that's Melynda, right?
Yep.
Okay, okie doke. I'll go to the next slide.
Okay, so again, this is just an elementary activity. We just wanted to hit, one on each level, and kind of model, what we are looking for. One thing that, we want to stress, we are using these guidebooks, Wyoming invested into the creation of the guidebooks to get activities, but truly, we are trying to get discovery information for students. So if you are looking at one of these activities and just going, man, it's just not making sense. You just can't picture yourself doing it in your classroom. When it comes time to do something in your classroom, create your own activity. Just as long as you are meeting those standards and objectives, you are okay. So on page 9 in the elementary book is the elementary standard. We're going to use end punctuation when writing a sentence or question. We want students to answer questions about the tasks that they do at home using standard English conventions, and use end marks in their sentence in their independent and shared writing. So again, if we are doing an activity on here, the materials needed were just paper, pencil, and an access to the tablet if they're using one. And then there were 3 activities listed. So activity 19.
Melynda.
Yes.
I just want to say something here. When you're doing these activities, it is using the end punctuation mark when writing a sentence or question. But remember also that you're looking at that discovery question. You're not just going to have writing sentences about creating an art project or creating, it needs to hone in on the discovery question. In those discovery questions here, you need to look at that when you're looking at making those sentences, whether it's looking at, each of those activities. If you're looking at those ready-made questions here, we want it to still answer that discovery question, not just any sentence.
Right. So they're going to answer the questions about the tasks that they do at home. So for 19, have your discovery questions ready, have them up on a smart board, and you're going to have ready-made stems for the students to complete. At home, I blank the dog. Are they going to feed the dog? Are they going to wash the dog? Are they going to, so you're going to have, there's a little bit front loading preparation on this, but, so students are going to use their sentence stems. They're going to complete it using text or pictures. And then you are going to fulfill the English objective by making sure that they have that correct ending punctuation. But remember, no matter what activity you use, we are looking for that discovery information. So we want to gather their information by completing the academic objective, and we are going to use that reflection sheet to document it. So what we are ultimately looking for here is that students can tell us what home tasks they complete. With or without being asked, when do they do the task? And that is really rich information that we're going to be able to include in their career portfolio. So again, we know that you are not going to stay late and scrapbook. So we're going to use that integration form to document how the activity went, how the student performed, did they need any modifications or accommodations, any adaptions, support, that kind of thing. So this, again, handout 2, or it's in the back of each guidebook. So for example, our discovery outcome for this is identify a home task that the student does without being asked, and the student will describe when they do this activity. We're going to document again, because you're not going to have this guidebook when you're just at the ready, when you're getting ready to document everything for your career portfolio. So you're going to want to write on here, you know, your activity itself. So the student will use a ready-made set of discovery questions on a smartboard. The student will use sentence stems and complete text using text or pictures, followed by correct punctuation. So this should jog your memory when you go back to this. Go, oh yeah, I remember when we did that. And where is that activity going to occur? It occurred in the special education classroom during speech and language services. You want to document any modifications or adaptations. So the student will use an AAC device to generate the sentences. Some students may have that. If the student is visually impaired and used Braille or something like that, this is just where you want to make sure you document everything. And then the reflection is where you are going to write what happened. And we kind of created almost fill in the blank, kind of a cheat sheet there, just to kind of get you started, because, you know, you're either going to have a Dear Diary moment, you're going to want to write and write and write, or you're going to go blank because you were there and you know what happened, but how do you say it? So when the student does whatever the task is, and it is a new or familiar task, it takes about blank minutes to complete the task. The task is completed, and you can say, is it the same or the different every time? And you can also say how. If you say different, you could, you know, include how it was different. They do the task for blank minutes at a time, and when finished, they are, and you can say, are they ready to do additional tasks? Do they ask for more? Are they ready to sit? Are they ready to leave? So you're just documenting what happened when you were doing that task and that activity in the classroom. When finished, the instructor says it, and you're going to say was or was not completed as instructed. The task completed either offers a product or a service, and it is or is not desired by the student to do again. Upon completion of the product or service, I know that sounds a little bit odd, but you'll see what we mean in the example. It does or does not meet expectations of the task completion of the instructor. The student has a support person, and then you need to say how that support person supported them. Did they assist with the task? If so, say exactly how. Did they offer hand-over-hand assistance? Okay. Did they give verbal information to do the task? Did they gesture offering assistance? Or did they do nothing to assist? Maybe they're just there, you know, for comfort and motivation for this particular task because the student was really comfortable with it. And then you're going to have a summary. So the student, using a text-to-speech program, navigated between the different screens to select a complete sentence to request a task which she will do. If she was given a task she did not want to do, she selected the statement, "No, thank you." When presented with choices of different home tasks, the student navigated the screens until she landed on the screen that had home tasks listed in pictures and selected the statement, "I do this at home with help from a family member." So it gets a little bit richer. You get a little more richer when you get to this part.
Now looking at the career development for the high school guidebook. And I really think when Melynda was showing you the example of how to write that reflection, you know, that's some really good information there for fill in the blank. But that's just a guide for you. I mean, you don't have to go exactly by it. You may not get all of that information each time. If you looked at that example about Sarah, you know, it just basically guided through this example of fill in the blank. It didn't have everything in there about Sarah, but it gave you enough information to know that when she finished, she went back into the classroom and she was ready to talk to the class about what she discovered on that scavenger hunt. And even in the fact that she met that coach and the football player, it lets you know a lot about her, that she was not a real shy person, that she was very social. So in looking at that, when we, in the high school, when we start looking at doing job development, we would be looking at a place for Sarah that she could have some interaction, but we also would want to look at, does she really need to be in an office setting, maybe where there are 4 or 5 people right around her? Because is she going to spend a lot of time talking to those people because she is so social? That gives us a lot of information to look at. So that's another reason why we're really wanting that rich information about how Sarah went about going to the cafeteria to find that information. She went, she didn't need the assistance, but also, instead of taking maybe 10 minutes, it might have took her 35 minutes because she saw 3 or 4 people coming out of the restroom where she was also looking at those symbols. So she stopped to talk to all those people that she knew, or she may not have knew. She struck up a conversation. So that really told us a lot about Sarah. So that's what we're looking at when we're looking at those reflections and we're looking at the summary of that information. So as we go on to the next slide, this is for the high school, and this is looking at reading information text. And we're looking at 9 through 12, 10, to read supported grade level appropriate literature material. So these discovery questions are: what city do you live in? What industries are in your community? And do you know about anybody that works there? And if you do, who is that person? So this is letting you know how that person, where they go in their community, where they go in the city. Do they know where there's fast food restaurants? Do they know there's a certain industry there? Do they have a family member that works there? And if they do, who is that person? And then we would, have conversation about, what that person does that they know. Is that someplace that they might be interested in working? So this is where the student is going to learn about the business and the industry in their community. One of the activities is they could take a field trip, or they could even have a speaker from that industry come in and speak with them, or it could be by Zoom. We know that transportation is a big issue, or it was when I was in the classroom, to get out. So now we do have other options such as Zoom or having someone come in. It's really ideal to be able to go out in the community and see those industries, but we have to look at what's available for you in the classroom, what's going to work best for you. So students will complete worksheets about their community. Now, there are a couple of worksheets dealing with this, and they are going to be on page, I think 60 and 61 of your workbook for high school. So we're going to look at doing this activity, and we're actually going to put you in groups to do this. And, are there any questions that you might have that we're going to look at putting you in groups to do activity 19? And we also have to see how many people we have that we can do this, because I think we had it set up a little bit differently, and I'm not sure that we actually have 4 groups. Mandy, you have 2 people, right, with you? And is everybody else just one person? Okay, so let's look at how we can go about doing this if we're going to do it in a breakout session. let's see. So Mandy, if we did activity 19 with you at looking at the worksheet, you and who was the other person with you?
Vika.
Okay. So we
They
could
didn't-
look,
Virginia, yeah.
Virginia,
I
sorry.
can't get to the mute.
so we could look at you all doing activity 19, and then we could look at 19A with, let's see, we could put Alicia and is it Lynette? Okay, we could put you two in a room to do that activity. And is there someone else in Plat 1? Is there someone on here in Plat 1? I mean, I'm just seeing that on my screen.
It was Tia Jones. I don't know if she had to step out or not. But that was the only one. And then
Okay.
Townsend is with,
Dion, and she's alone.
okay, is there anybody else that she could join, or we have one other person with us?
Well, I guess we could put her, we could have 3 in one group. So we would just be doing activity 19 and 19A.
Okay, and if Tia shows up, put her in the other group. Can you do that, Jennifer? So y'all know what you're gonna do? Or do we need to revisit the instructions?
Okay, we're going to look at the activity. One of you will actually be the teacher and the other one would be the student, and you're actually going to do this activity in your room. And then the teacher would be writing up the teacher summary and the teacher the reflection. So then we will go back and discuss it. And you would use that fill in the blank form that we talked about a few minutes ago when I was talking about Sarah. So you would use that to fill out your information. And the worksheets, I think Twinkle had, it's in your guidebook on page 61 through 63.
And
So
I've got
activity-
2 rooms assigned.
So activity 19, you're gonna fill out the grid. In my neighborhood there is, and kind of, if you're role playing, someone's gonna be the teacher and someone's a student, and just think about your community where your campus is at. And see if you can at least get 5 or 7 of them answered. Okay, someone else is joining us. And then 19A is talking about my city. So somebody will, again, be the teacher, be the role, and someone take notes. But you're going to fill out, and that's the one that I said, it's, you can either go to the book or go to the handout. But it's page 63. But it's just gonna, I live in, and again, if you just kind of think about your campus at you or one of your campuses, some of y'all service several campuses, and kind of fill it out as you think, or kind of put a student in mind. And I saw someone just joined us.
And
Stacy
as you're doing the activity and
Stacy.
thinking of questions that you want to come back and ask us because maybe you're not real clear about it. So write those questions down and jot them down that you may have as if you were working with a student. But let's take this time to look at it and then talk about with each other how you would write that reflection as if that were the student. And as Twinkle said, you might want to think about it as a student that you have in your classroom that you work with and how that student goes about doing this worksheet, whether it be with some modifications or adaptations that are going to be needed. you would give us that information also. But this probably is going to give you time you're going to think of some questions too, what is she talking about? What does she mean by writing this? That's okay, because this is your first time to sit down to do this. You're probably going to have a lot of questions, and this is the time for us to sit down and discuss with you and try to answer your questions about this. But remember again that you're using that extended curriculum, but you're also wanting to answer those discovery questions and get that information, just like I described Sarah, how social she was. The person that's being the student today may be a person that's going to be very shy, going to be needing more assistance than what Sarah needed. So you would be writing that information up. So you're going to be creative here and using your imagination as if it were one of your students also.
So Charlotte and Twinkle, if it's okay, since Stacy joined, I kept Mandy and Virginia together, Alicia and Lynette together, and then I moved Dion to be with Stacy. I don't know if you want 3 groups of 2 or 2 groups of 3.
Well, we can do 2 groups of 3, and that way we could do activity B also.
So 3
Could be
groups
3
of
groups
2,
of 2. Yeah, 3 groups of 2.
Okay.
And do you think we can look at 7 minutes and we'll check in and see if you're kind of done? If you need, try not to go past 10 minutes, but see if we can get something done.
I think they're going to need at least 10 minutes.
Okay, we'll start with 10 and check back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready for me to send them to their rooms?
Yeah.
Gonna beam them up, Scotty. Charlotte, do you want anyone of you, like you or Dr. Ross or Twinkle, in any of the rooms to answer questions or help, or just leave them?
I think just leave them for now, and then in 10 minutes, if there's like a lot of questions, I think we can go into the rooms if we need to give them some assistance. But let's see where they go from here. Because I want to make sure that we gave them enough information when they're on their own with these guidebooks. Because as the 3 of us talked, we felt like we needed to give them more information on how to use this.
Sounds good.
And then Charlotte, I was wondering, something I forgot to mention this morning, but one of the speech therapists that turned in her assignment, she had a really good question or comment, because she said she didn't use the standards. She normally doesn't, because she's an itinerant speech therapist. So maybe at the conclusion of this, we just talk about that, using the team concept. And that was Macy. I thought it was a really good point that she brought up about, we already talked about it, but how the team concept is important, that they know what sections of it. But like if the speech therapist said, I can handle this, or the O&M, and they can have activities that aren't necessarily linked to a standard, but they could also share it with the classroom teacher in case there's something they're doing in the class going, I've got something to fit that. Do you want to address that at the end?
Yeah, I think that would be good to give her that information.
Yeah, because she had some really good comments and stuff, and then she made a comment about, and she's I'm a speech therapist, and I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, I had thought about it, but like our O&M folks would usually go do the neighborhood visits for us because they were out and about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think the importance of the team and who's going to do what and how they have to type that, always have to tie everything to a standard.
Yes. you know, there should be some collaboration there with
Mhm.
that classroom teacher and the
Yeah,
sheriff.
definitely. Okay. So I did send Mandy and her a chat message just to let them know. We had some comments about it. We saw your comments and we're going to address them at the end. Okay, so let me look at, and let me just ask you one more time, Char, did you receive any media releases via mail?
No,
Okay, I checked this afternoon, so nothing else was turned in. And you haven't received anything, have you, Jennifer?
Did you check the folders to see if they've been uploaded there?
I checked.
You
Yeah.
did check?
and
Yeah.
they were supposed to email to me, and I didn't get any emails.
Yeah.
And I
So-
haven't been tagged in anything.
So okay, so at the end again, that's just one of the things I'm gonna go through and just ask them. We're at the point, because someone put a kid's name in there and I went and looked and I was like, we don't have a release. I don't know if that's the real name of the student or not, but so we didn't use that.
And I think it might be good, Jennifer, too, if I could just have a phone call individually with the people that are on the team, and maybe kind of pinpoint, you know, who's going to do what. And, you know, if I had that person on the phone and we could, you know, we could sit down and say, you know, we really need to see who's going to be doing this section, you know, because August will be here before we know it, and we want to get that information. And especially those elementary people that, you know, if they already had those photos of the students and releases, you know, they could go ahead and get started so that they would have that life book for August to share with the upcoming teacher or other people that are going to be working with that student.
I think that's a great idea. And so maybe what we could work on between now and our final virtual training for May, it would be to maybe get you scheduled to do some one-on-ones with districts.
Yeah, and that way maybe they could give me the name and we could, you know, pinpoint it down who's going to
I'm gonna
be
say
doing-
keep the breakout rooms open. Are y'all getting that message?
I already kept them open, yeah.
Okay,
I thought they were going to need a little bit longer.
I have a timer set on my phone to alert me when their 10 minutes is up, and then I'll bring them back.
Yeah, I don't know if they have like planning periods at a certain time during the day, maybe that we could schedule a call, or what would work best for them. You know, it may not work best for them to be after school. Whatever you think, Jennifer, will work.
Yeah, I think that if you can, you know, look at those teams, or even if it's a lead person from the team, and get that so that we keep them moving. I understand it's a busy time of the spring, but we're all busy, and they need to keep, you know, things moving forward and going. This is for the benefit of the students. I should pause recording while we're touching base.
Did y'all have enough time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let's start with team one that did activity 19. And remember, if you have questions or you've got comments about it, you know, go ahead and, you know, give us that information too. But we want to know what your reflection was and what your summary was. And and also tell us, about, if this were with one of your students, how you feel this is going to work, or what you think you need, or more information from us to get this done. Okay, so who was doing activity 19?
Mandy and Virginia.
Hi, sorry, we didn't have our volume turned up right away.
My computer crashed too, so.
Okay. So Mandy kind of played the role of the student, and I kind of took notes as she was doing that, and we kind of structured it such that she would be using her phone to kind of research some of these things. So we just, picked a couple of the categories and look, kind of did a Google search just to see what would come up. So some things that came to mind for us and the students we work with are, like, for example, we did fast food, and we kind of thought, well, we live in such a rural town. We don't really have like well-known fast food places. We have a Subway, but then we just have other establishments where you could go in and maybe get some quick food. So we thought even having a discussion with these kids of like what really constitutes fast food, because when you Google it, it almost lists all the restaurants in Pinedale, but knowing the restaurants, we know, okay, that's a sit-down restaurant, but that's a place where you could go in and get something from the counter. They might, have pizza, but it's not necessarily fast food, that sort of thing. So that brought up some discussion for us. And even too, there was something when we looked up, what was it? Oh, for florist. There was something that came up as Pinedale Gardens, but when you looked at the description, it was in Clanton, Alabama, but it was just called Pinedale Gardens. So we were kind of thinking with our students, well, would they really even kind of go that deep to read underneath the listing to know that no, genuinely, that's not in Pinedale, that's in Alabama. So that brought up something. We talked about a movie theater. Our closest movie theater is what, maybe 30 miles away. So we thought, having them sort of figure out that distance and maybe using the map app to kind of navigate how to get there could be an exercise for them. And then like even a department store, having a discussion with them about what that really means. Again, we don't have anything that really would be what you think as a department store. Our grocery store has different departments where you can get, things that you need that really no other place sells. So these kids kind of growing up here would just need, I think, some help on figuring out really what do you mean by a department store. So it's like a big store that has different sections for different types of things, and it just wouldn't be very clear cut.
Yeah.
So it would give you a lot of opportunity, a lot of teaching opportunities there to talk about things that they don't have. But we really wanted to know about where they do go in their neighborhood, and they would be giving you that information. But also when this information you're bringing up about that you don't have these things in your area, that is a good teaching skill there to go in and to look at, what is a department store. And if you moved after graduation, these might be some of the things that you would look at. But as far as the discovery is knowing, where they're actually going in their community. And if it is a fast food place that's not a known McDonald's, but we have a local place called Ed's, and it's a fast food place, and everybody knows Ed's for their hamburgers. So it's not McDonald's, but it is a fast food place. So same sort of thing, I'm sure, for you.
Yeah. Was there anything else?
Just kind of what you brought up about.
Oh,
Who's
yeah, like, and then as far as like library and police department, fire department, just knowing how to be familiar with where those are and what services they might offer there. again, the kids around here, it's more about, even though you're looking for where they go, if I use certain words, they don't necessarily connect to what that really means. And so, you know, if I did say department store, and then we start to go into that, you know, and I said, oh, a department store might be something like Family Dollar here, you know, where, you know, on a smaller scale, they have lots of different things that they offer. And so that to me is like the discussion tool where we start to talk about that. All right, so now if think about like going into Jackson Hole or somewhere that has a little bit more department store-ish type places, you
Right.
know, like what's a place in Jackson that you've been to that maybe
Mhm.
reminds you of Family Dollar, you know, that you could go to and get clothes, and just to kind of have those discussions. So I liked this activity. But I definitely am not seeing my kids able to do this independently yet.
Okay. And you know, you may have to make a worksheet fit for you. You know, this worksheet may not work at all. In my community I live in, I'm kind of like you. We have the Dollar General store and we have one department store called Belk, and that's all we have here. So, you know, you may have to go in and make a worksheet work for you. This may not work. And so that's why we also say, you know, if there's a better activity that you can come up with your class to do discovery, you know what's going to work for you. You know, this may not work at all for you. But I think that with the information you're giving me, you're on the right track and you know how that you can make this fit to get that information.
Yeah.
So if you were writing up that summary, you know, how would you, Mandy was the student, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you describe Mandy as far as the summary? Remember what I wrote about, you know, Sarah doing that activity? You know, how would you go about writing this about, you know, Mandy, about, you know, how long it took her, or maybe she stopped and started wondering and talking about something else, or she did give you that information that, you know, she goes to Dollar General store instead of a department store like they would have at Jackson Hole. So can you give me some of that information as far as a summary there or a reflection?
Yeah, Virginia. How did I do?
Well, I mean, I don't really know how to answer that because we just kind of discussed it as we went. I mean, if I were just to like make up things to say that
Yeah,
she, you know, was independent, she was able to initiate getting her phone out. She knew how to use the Google, you know, search tools, and was able to read through them independently and, you know, list out the different business names and ask
yeah,
some, I guess, independent questions about, you know, whether they genuinely fell into the right category.
yeah. That's what I'm looking for. And instead of saying she did it independently, you know, when you're writing it, you want to let me know what independently mean. Like Mandy has used a cell phone before to Google something. This was familiar to her. It wasn't like the first time she had ever done it, because if it were the first time, then you would also be teaching something there, also how to use Google. So that's what we mean also by when we're wanting to write descriptively. I think when we write IEPs, we all know what we mean when we're writing she does it independently, da 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 da. But we're wanting more information to explain exactly what independently is. And that's what we would mean by familiar, unfamiliar. So
She pulled out her
Twinkle,
phone,
do you
typed in the businesses, and read through the search results on her own or something like that.
yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly.
Charlotte, may I just interject something here just as an idea too? Because I know as you and Twinkle and Dr. Ross share that, like, you know, tweaking a worksheet that works for your specific district or your circumstance. But something else I want to offer, because I know it's happened to all of us, no matter where we live, how rural or wherever, you know, I put in something for Buffalo, Wyoming, for example, and I might get Buffalo, New York. And so, like, when you mentioned, you know, the one, you know, gardening place that was in another state. One thing that, as I was working with Charlotte last week and talking about like some businesses specific to a community, I like a teach to that you could teach, or an inclusive piece you could add in that worksheet that you tweak for your own district, is teaching those students how to do a search of, say, like your local business directory. So for example, if I want Pinedale, Wyoming businesses, then if I just go to Google and do a Pinedale, Wyoming business directory, or Chamber of Commerce tool, then it's going to give me all of those businesses and things that are specific to my community. And that's going to be a way more efficient way to look things up that are specific to my community or my surrounding area. And can easily be taught. You know, students can be taught that, oh, that's because now, whether they continue to live in Pinedale or whether they move to Jackson or move to Casper or move to Shoshone, wherever they're at, large or small, they now have some, you know, some tools in their toolbox for how to find business listings wherever they might be.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna add again, because you turned in your business list. So, you know, you could certainly tailor it to what is available in your community. And I'm looking at some, I mean, a lot of yours are the agencies, but there's a recycle center, a thrift store, you know, so yeah, the idea of a department store, but the Dollar Tree and the thrift store, it's to me, you know, but utilize that type stuff if you need to modify any. Again, these are suggested handouts, but definitely
Yeah, I'm just
tailor
thinking
them.
it could be almost like a matching and sort of category activity where you have the business list, but then you try to match it to these general terms and see if they can kind of cross-reference.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I only had one this morning.
We ready to go to the next one?
That was Josh. What was he doing?
You want to try 19A, Charlotte? I mean,
Yeah.
okay. That was, I have to look. Alyssa and Lynette, okay.
So I played the role of student, and we did the questions about the city. The student I was dealing with, that I was pretending to be, is visually impaired, and they don't go a lot of places, like they go to the park and that, so we were able to complete it, but it was more that she did more questioning than just the fill in the blank stuff.
Mhm.
I think it worked out okay.
So how would you write the summary of the outcome of what the student did with this activity?
So I did that. Do you want me to read it or just put it in the chat? Or
Yeah.
both? Because I can do both.
Yeah, why don't you just read it and get, or just discuss it with us, however you would want to do it. I mean, you don't have to read it word for word if you just want some discussion, in case somebody else has something else they want to add.
Okay. So I basically, like, they can do the city they live in, identify the city that he lives in, requires verbal prompting and the use of supported writing. So a scribe answering direct questions, 3 to 4 words when interested. We talked about how he needs processing time, so I included information about that. Follow-up questioning to get longer responses. Speaks more when engaged in an activity of interest and can identify friends by name. So that's
Okay.
kind of how I summarized it.
Okay. Good. Yeah. And when you say the student may require follow-up questions to elicit longer responses, what exactly do you mean that he requires follow-up questions? How would you describe that?
So I got a lot of one-word responses. So for more information, I had to ask.
Okay, and that's what I really would want you to say. What you just said then, the one word, because that would tell us a lot too when we were looking to customize a job, what a supervisor, when that supervisor would give instructions to that student on the job, that's going to mean a lot what you just said. That gives us a lot of information to give that supervisor or that employer. So that's letting why we're wanting this information and why we're wanting such detail about it. So when we do start looking at customizing jobs, but that was great that what you just gave me, that information. Anything else you want to add?
I had a thought just when I was listening to the last 19. If the goal is to better identify like neighborhood, street, like specifically knowing where they live. So like if they need to tell someone I need to go home, here's where I go. Just some, I don't know, some more, because I live in a city, doesn't necessarily like give that information. So maybe adding something about like the neighborhood or whether or not they know their address would be helpful.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we had one other group, right?
Yes, the 19B group.
Okay.
I'm afraid I came in super late to the party, so I did not get all of your instructions. And poor Miss Townsend, she had used the restroom. So we were not fantastic at this exercise.
This is a learning process for everybody. That's why we're here.
Right. But as I was looking at this, I was thinking, this My Community is Special would be a great page. Because I live where Mandy and Virginia live, and so we do have a very small community. But I think actually this would be almost an awesome lesson to begin with a way that our community is special, because maybe when we get into those other, like that number 9, like the activity 19, where they're like, well, we don't have a bookstore and we don't have a hotel and, we don't have fast food restaurants. Like maybe if they have that idea of, that our community is special. I do know, thinking about the students that I would use this, I mean, I'm middle school, so, but even at that, I could still use this with my students. And at first, I think I have one that probably, he just moved in. So to him, this community is not his home yet, but it would be kind of fun for him to learn about our community and what does make Pinedale special, and kind of help him feel more comfortable with living here. Whereas my other student, this would be really hard for him to accomplish, especially independently. So I don't know. Do you have anything else to add?
I thought going back up to 19, we kind of were looking through that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like picturing the kids in my head. And I was telling Stacy about a gal, I had to take her on a college visit, and I said, okay, just so you know, we're going to lunch and no fast, no fast food. And she wanted McDonald's. I said, nope, we can get that Werland, so let's do something different. And it was a struggle for her to differentiate the fast food versus a sit down, because in Werland, our choices of eateries is a little limited. And, so even like that, was hard for her to, and I had to walk her through it. But I think in a way that would be, I'm like with Stacy, like to start with why my community is special, to make them figure out, exactly what is here. Because, as we were talking, like having one student where the parents make sure that he gets out and take him out to eat, like to the Asian place, and they go all over town. And then some of my others are very, very isolated, even within our community.
Mhm.
And so they don't know what is there. And I kind of took it for granted that our town is not that darn big. Come on, like, how do you not know, but they don't. And so, it brought an awareness to me as Stacy and I were talking. I need to create more outings for my kids and get them, not going out of town necessarily. I mean, that would be good for them too, but within our
day
community.
trip.
Yeah, because it's just amazing what they don't know. And so it just, it kind of baffles you sometimes of, oh my gosh, they don't know that, you take it for granted. But creating a brochure, I think, would be fun for them, when they start learning about their community and getting more involved in it, to help them learn more about it. That'd be an engaging and fun way for them to do that. So,
And I think we've all experienced that. I live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. You would think that everybody in the area has been to the beach. I've had kids in my classroom that had never rode by the beach to know what is a beach. So
Mhm.
I think the same. I mean, you're in rural Wyoming, but I'm right here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and these kids have never been to the beach before. I would never have dreamed that nobody knew where the beach was. I mean, I don't know, Melynda, Twinkle, if you've experienced some things like that also, but I'm just amazed, just like you and what you're saying about your group, even though we're in different parts of the country, it's the same thing with our kids. So the more exposure that we can give to them and the more that we can learn about them when we're starting to customize a job for them. I mean, this it really tells us a lot. And when we go in to talk to those employers that are going to be hiring our students, we need all of this information to put those pieces of that puzzle together.
And I think, adding to what you say, just day trips. I go back to my first year teaching, and I got selected to, I wanted my athletes to go to area competition, which was in our hometown. I mean, it was just another subdivision over, but the parents said, why do our kids ever go to state competition? I'm like, oh, so before I knew the night was over with, we had agreed to take them out of town. And I looked at my director going, I've never been responsible for students out of town. I was a first year teacher, and it was, we had parents meetings and we asked them to send us all the notes and particulars we needed to know. And our students that were nonverbal, I taught them some sign languages so they could tell me if they were sick or they didn't feel good or something, because these weren't my regular students that I had. And so, but it was amazing. One of my students got stuck at the mall, and she was too afraid to come down the escalator. And I was like, but it just, I thought, she's never seen an escalator before. I had students afraid to get in the elevator because we didn't have elevators for a long time. It's amazing, just day trips. You find out so much that, again, to teach them and give them some opportunities of things they hadn't experienced, you know, so they can make some. I think someone asked me some time ago, you know, what about transportation? If you have a chance to take them to a community that has public transportation, just to give it a shot. They don't have to learn the routes that day, but just to learn how to get on a bus and hand them the tokens and get in your seat. It's just an amazing experience, but it does open the door to so much, not just for the students, but for the families. You know, so if just a day trip, okay, we're just going to go to the university, or as I want to go to your museum, you know, see that dinosaur, you know, because I've never seen a big dinosaur skeleton before. So that's a place to start. If you ever have a chance to do overnight trips, I mean, we were gone for 4 days and I was like, oh my God. But we came back with the same ones we left with. So I considered it a success. So great. Okay. So, oops, it went back. Sorry. Hold on. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Do you have a little bit better understanding about the guidebooks and how to use it? And how do you, and you're not tied to these lessons. Like I said, you can create your own depending on the community you live in or the students you work with. You know, I worked with students that were blind or visually impaired. So we had to make tactile books and tactile maps for them to help them understand. And I remember we had a scavenger hunt one time at my place of business, and all of our signs were not brailled. So we were running around the day before, you know, with our little braille labeler, you know, putting it all up there going, these are not brailled correctly, you know, but we didn't want, they said, well, they just have to ask somebody. I was like, but that's not the point. The point is we want them to be able to access any of the rooms that anybody else would. If they want to ask somebody, they can. I mean, I have to times ask people, I mean, you know, to how to get somewhere. I don't, you know, sometimes reading maps aren't my forte, but, you know, again, just we wanted them to have this experience in our place of business, and not even our place of business was truly accessible. So we had to work on it, and even sitting down, because we had boxed lunches. And one of the things we asked the teachers, you know, was we told the students, you have to, if you haven't met anybody yet, you've got to meet somebody and sit with them at lunchtime and enjoy the lunch. Well, some of our students wanted to sit with their teacher assistants. And we're like, no, the point of this whole day was, you know, for you to build your community. And you know, I remember two young men were sitting in a booth, and as they were talking, they were both blind. He's like, you use a cane too? He goes, I've never met anybody besides me that uses a cane. And that was just a day event that we had for our students, but that was just precious time that I couldn't have created that situation. And then one of them found out that she had a cousin that had Stargardt's disease. And so now they're on Facebook or something, you know, so it's just those experiences and letting them go out that just become priceless. And it just builds their experiences and also help the parents know that they can go to work. It's okay. Yeah. So any other comments or questions or discussions about the guidebooks? Okay, well, then I'm going to come to the part of paperwork. And I hate to do this to y'all, but I just need to check. So I've been trying to keep tabs, and I've gone on the Google folders, and if it's in there, I apologize if I didn't find it. And you can just say, nah, we haven't gotten to it yet. Okay. The main thing right now is the photo and media release for Charlotte. You were supposed to either upload it or email it to her. So what I found on the group was for Bighorn. Y'all have turned in 2 Charlotte Guys media releases. I don't know if you emailed them to Charlotte or just if they've uploaded them, Charlotte, do you still want them to email you a copy?
Well, I can get it if they uploaded it.
Yeah, we have an elementary and a middle school, and they're uploaded to our folder. Carrie's supposed to be working on my high schooler.
Is JP elementary or middle?
Yes, JP's elementary.
And then KB's middle?
Middle.
Fantastic. Okay. You think you might get a high school one before the end of the school year, or is something we have to start at the beginning?
No, I think we'll be able to get one. I just haven't had a chance to touch base with Carrie soon.
Thank you. Okay, Campbell County, we're not sure about them. Let's see, Fremont, is Fremont with us today? Anybody from Fremont? Because they
No.
turned in a, no? No, I don't have them marked, but they didn't turn in, they turned in a district form and not the one that Charlotte needed. And then, I'm sorry, going back to Bighorn, for your team, I may not have been clear with my instructions. I think y'all listed the schools that you provide services to. And what I was looking for was a number of campuses you have in your district and the grades that they are. So if you wouldn't mind updating that, I'd appreciate it.
Where is that?
That is the team, I'll put it in the general handouts just to make it easy. I forgot
Okay.
what folder it's in. I'll upload it. Okay, then Platt. Do we have anybody with Platt today? Because they haven't turned in their media form yet, but they have their businesses, they have their team information, and they have the other one. So, you know, it's all hit and miss. And then
We had
Mandy,
somebody signed in from Platt, but nobody is responding from Platt.
I don't have, Tia Jones was there, but she hasn't answered. She might have had to step away. And then the other one was sublet, Mandy. Yes, you have one. Is your student a high school, middle school, or elementary?
High school. We do have permission for an elementary, but right now we don't have anybody to work with students at the elementary. You're part of our
Okay.
team, so.
And is that the one that's moving from 5th grade to 6th grade? Or is that somebody else?
Fourth to fifth grade.
Oh, 4th to 5th grade.
Okay, so you'll just let us, we've got one for you. And then I do have your assignments. So if you wouldn't mind going back and checking the business and community, most of y'all got that one done. 1, 2, 3. But the main thing is the media release, and the business is something you're going to refer back to later on. And your team roster, I'm going to kind of suspend that for right now, because we'll probably ask for it again in August and see how many of us are still here or someone hit the lottery and all. So we'll go ahead and suspend that for now.
Twinkle, can you
Yes.
remind me? Sorry, I've done some of these, but haven't uploaded them. So where do you want us to upload and put them?
You have a district team folder now.
Okay.
If you'll just put them in there, and that would just make life easier than telling you to go find the date that we talked about them. Just now, just put them in your team folder, and I can
Okay.
find them. That'd be okay,
Thank you.
and I can find them. So we wanted to look at, once again, the life book, Bighorn and Sublet. Are these people still part of the team?
No,
we
not
all-
in sublet. There's a different elementary teacher,
Okay. Let me go to my
but she's
page.
not, kind of on board with this at this point. So,
Okay, well, let me just scratch out that person's name and know that to be determined. How
okay.
about that? Okay. And then middle school, are we still the same with that? Bighorn and Sublet? Are you still seeing my?
Okay.
So we are, but my middle school teacher there is gonna be a high school teacher next.
Okay, she gonna stay on the
Fall.
team?
Yes,
Yay, okay.
and she'll
So-
connect with the middle schooler. Like, even though she'll be at high school, she'll be helping with the middle schooler that I got the release for.
Okay, we'll keep that there then. And then let me see if I got this right from my notes last time. So for right now, Bighorn is Carrion Sandra, how do you pronounce it? Chandra?
Chandra,
Campbell County, we don't have anybody. Fremont is Amber King, Natrona is Lynette. Flat is Karen and team. Sublet is Mandy and team. Teton is Tracy, and then Washaki is Eon. Any additions and we're going to revisit this at the beginning of next year because things, can change. So one of the questions, and I mentioned this to Charlotte, I believe it was Virginia, you brought up a very good point in your assignment. And so one of the things, and this is why you want to do a team kind of concept for the student career portfolio, because she made a comment in her submission of her homework assignment that she is a speech therapist. So I'm going to guess you're itinerant. You don't really have to follow the standards, but you got some great information about that particular student. So that's the important piece about the student career portfolio and coming in as a team, because let me see if you don't necessarily have to be involved with the standard, but if that classroom teacher's on there and you go out there and do a view of the student's bedroom, you can tell her or let them know. And now with Google folders or whatever folder you want to use, when you upload that information, like, we've got that covered. We don't need more information. Like I said, when we did ours, one of ours was a young lady that was blind. So the O&M was our best person to go do the community observation, because she went out to her home anyway, because she was teaching her how to access public transportation. So I thought it was a good comment that you made about, I don't normally deal with the standards. I deal with, her IEPs, but the fact that you were able to get a morning routine, so you would relay that information to the rest of the team and say, I've got this one covered. I can do this piece of the student career portfolio. And then if you want to look and see if it matches anything on the extended standards, that would be a conversation for you to have with the classroom teacher who has to administer your state test and address those standards, not just for the state test, but just for the learning process. Charlotte, is there anything else you want to add to that, or just because I thought it was a really good point that she brought up?
No, and I think it works best to have a team where it's not just one person being responsible for everything. It makes it so much easier to put everything together. If maybe one person's gathering the information, one person's writing that information. I think that works best. I never had the luxury of having a team. It was always me that was doing everything. I would love to have had a team to work with me. And I know when I worked with Twinkle's district, they did everything as a team. I like that concept.
Yeah, so just because you're not responsible, you're going to use the same forms, but you have to, so if I'm itinerant staff, O&M or VI or something, I'm not in the classroom, then bring that to the team. So the teacher can say, oh, great, you got that covered for me. I can check that off. So using those forms and having the outcome and understanding what we need from the outcome would help them. And then the last thing, where's my other notes I wanted to catch real quick? Okay, so let's go back here. So once again, the next steps, I can't, if you'll get your team roster in, although I think I have most of them, and trying to go to your website, your campuses, and we wanted to know, how many campuses do you have in your district? What grades do they cover? Not necessarily the ones that you serve, but campuses as a whole. I tried to go to some of the school districts and find them, but it was a little time consuming. And then the business will be for you, but the main thing right now is get that media release in. And if for some reason, say, we're not sure, we're going to wait till next year, let Charlotte and Jennifer know if it's not going to be uploaded before. And I put May 13th. So for some reason, you're not going to be able to get them done by then, please email Charlotte and Jennifer and let her know that we lost a student, or we're going to select a new student or something, but there'd be something on your to-do list at the beginning. And of course, review the recordings. The handouts are always there. The transcripts there. It's really in the chat stuff is there, because I do go back when I think I missed something or I misunderstood an assignment. So that's something you can use. So Dr. Ross or Charlotte, anything else to add? Because that
No,
is,
I think we pretty much covered everything unless any of you have a question about today's training or any other questions about the other trainings. We'll be
I
glad.
just want to also share that I'm also always available to answer questions if you just need help finding folders or logistic type things too.
yes,
And-
if something you get, so you don't have any homework this time, there's no assignments. It's just to complete any of the work that we had assigned throughout, so we can get it all done before the next training.
And Jennifer and I are going to get together so that maybe we could set up some individual calls with you all or with a team, so that we can look at, what needs to get finished before August, or what you need to be working on, because we really hope for August that you'll be able to set up some work experiences for those middle school and high school. So we want to start looking at all that. So I think it would be real beneficial if, I could have a call with each of you, maybe during your school day or during your planning period, that we could talk about what needs to be completed and what assistance you might need from me. Anything else?
All we have, let me see if there's a chat. Let me see. Okay, thank you. Yes, I think I had your business form. Yes. That one I got. Yeah, I think you have it on the spreadsheet, but that's all I have.
Okay.
That's the last slide.
Okay. Anything else, Jennifer?
I can't think of anything.
Good. Okay.